Scott Russell, we're certainly in some uncertain times. I think a lot of people are wondering where this is all going to go, and I know there's a lot of people that would almost prophesy that things are going to be fine. And I am not a doomsdayer by any means. I am someone that usually sees the glass half full, but I wanted to just talk a little bit about where I think it's going. The detail of that you can figure out for yourself, I don't know, but just a general overview. I think that the globalists that have started this World Economic Forum people, the leaders of this world, I think some of them have realised that they're in something bigger than them. I personally believe the natural follows the spiritual doesn't follow the natural, and we're all about to learn that lesson. So as we've lived, as there's been no God, we lived like there's been no accountability, we've lived like we can do whatever we want, whenever we want, wherever we want, to whoever we want. I think we're about to get a rude awakening in that. I personally think that we will see, and I'm not saying this will happen in a day, but we will see a lot of people losing their homes. We're already seeing the lead up to that. I think we're going to see as I've said many times, the currency collapse and all the overflow of that. I do believe a lot of the BRICS countries are being set up as the safe haven for the elites to store their wealth. So I think the wealth that's in the West is particularly going to suffer. If you have dealings with a BRICS country, it may not be a bad thing. If you can look at physical assets, gold, silver, things like that. I don't believe they're the answer, but I think it'll prolong you getting confronted with the pain, ease the pain a bit longer. I do believe in our society here, we're going to, in the West, we're going to see a lot of unrest, civil unrest. I think we're going to see a lot of suicide. I actually believe we've seen this in other parts of the world, or people have seen it in other parts of the world, but I think here in the West, the US, Australia, New Zealand, in the UK, places like that, we will see, it will be a lot commonplace to see a dead body on the street of somebody that's just died, and there's so much of that people won't be picking it up immediately. It'll be the next day or whatever, because it's a time when people have lost touch with their hearts. And so somebody will die, it's like, oh, he was just a burden anyway, get rid of him. And I think this is where a lot of us are going to be being challenged with heart, challenged with, do we believe in the Father's love, the Heavenly Father? It's more than a belief, but do you feel that love? Do you know that love in you? Are you prepared to surrender to the Father's love? Your natural father might have been terrible, but I'm talking about a spiritual father, the Heavenly Father. So I think we're going to see a lot of that. I think a lot of people are going to lose their assets, their jobs. People with a lot of credit, it's going to just disappear. I've been saying it to my sons for a while. I said, I think you're going to start to see the housing markets where there won't be the buyers or the availability to get the financing. And I said, I think we're going to start to see the housing market collapse in greater ways. People are going to be desperate to try to do that. They'll try to rent. They'll try to rent for high amounts. People won't be there or able to pay those high amounts. So I think the rental market will start to collapse. In fact, one part of Australia, a man that I know that's involved in the building industry has said that in some parts of Canberra now, they're seeing that sort of thing, where he knows someone that hasn't been able to rent his house for a long time because it's an older house, it's not perfect, it's whatever. So we're starting to see that. I know somebody else looking at the Gold Coast and they're, oh no, the Gold Coast is great. No, the Gold Coast is in a bit of a bubble of its own. In Australia, it's like the Las Vegas of the US. But it's coming there because a lot of people have invested, their investment properties there, and the people are not going to be there to pay the money that they're asking, so they're going to lose those properties. They've leveraged themselves. So I think a lot of people are going to have a lot of chaos. They're not used to change. Everybody's looking for the normal way of doing things. I want the normal life. I think I've talked a lot about relationships. I do believe we're going to see a lot of relationships that will collapse through this because they're based in all the wrong things with all the wrong people doing in all the wrong places. And it's all about you and a show and what you can do instead of being real with who you are, what you are. I do believe there's answers to that. I'm living that answer. Do I have all the answers? No, but for my life, I'm living what I have a conviction to live. There's others that are drawn to that I'm in daily communion with over that, doing things that they feel to be doing, and I'm encouraging those things. And it's quite different to see some of the wonderful things unfolding. Unusual. I live the path of unusual. One of my sons had a lady I've mentioned before, probably, but one lady that was interested in her, and she said, being with you, I've lived 3 months worth of life in 3 days. And she looked frazzled. I remember when I saw her at one point, she's frazzled, and I'd give her a hug, and she's just like, oh. And she's since pulled away because she's just like, I need time to find myself. She said she'd been trying to find herself, but when she wanted change from normal, change from the rut that she'd been living in. But when that presented itself, she didn't quite know what to do. And like I said, she said, well, I don't see how I fit with your life. How am I useful to you? And it's kind of like, well, you don't get it, do you? I'm not looking for you to be useful. I'm looking for hearts to be joined. So again, I think a lot of people's hearts are going to be confronted in this time to sort of get to that point of saying, can I live from my heart or from my head? Because if you're going to live from your head knowledge, as things come unstuck in the world around us, and they will, layer by layer, and I think most of us, if we're honest, we know that, then your heart is where it's going to be. It's going to, your spiritual heart, your spiritual emotions that we've spent a lot of time denying. I spoke to a lady once that told me she doesn't listen to her intuition. She stopped listening to her intuition, but she needs to do that again. I said, yeah, you do. She's pretty switched on, but had switched it off because it didn't fit with normal. Well, you know what, lady? That lady needs to get herself in somewhere where it does fit, or somewhere where people are appreciating it. They may not agree with everything she says, but they're going to walk with her in what's for her life. So get those right people around you doing the right thing in all the right places. And I think you'll find that life will just take a new spin for you in a good way. In a good way. So yeah, a lot of chaos coming for various degrees. And I think I like that verse that says, and those that know their God will be mighty and do great exploits. This is a great time of opportunity, a great time of moving ahead, a great time of strength and security. But it's a reevaluation to find, where do I need to put myself? Where do I need to put my strength? Where do I need to put my trust? And how do I need to walk to know that my future is certain? And if you've built your house on sand, on the things of this world, that just transient things that are moving and shifting, and then your house is going to collapse. But if you build it on the rock, the spiritual rock, which for me is my faith, brought to me through that relationship with Christ. Not a religious relationship, but knowing that unconditional love of the Father, where he's saying, I love you, I'm with you, and I'll never forsake you. So walk it and see where you end up. God bless.